But unfortunately, in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jackamek, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Welcome into Fitness Fanatics on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now here are your hosts, Jeff and Nicole Essig.
All right, welcome into the Fitness Fanatics. It is Sunday, October 8th, and we are live here at the studio, 1040 O Street. If you're out and about, come and check us out. I was listening to the post-game show with Jay Foreman last night. I didn't listen to it Thursday. Obviously, I was in bed, or Friday night. But I heard, the funniest part was I heard Nick say, "Oh, we have our first mooner." I was cracking up laughing.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Not what I thought we were getting when we had the window, but I should have known better. I should have known better.
Especially at 1 a.m. on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Yes, people stumbling out of the bars.
Yep.
Oh, what's going on in here? So that was pretty funny. So if you're out and about, come check us out here. We got a really, really good show lined up for you. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We have one of our members, Beth Wasserberger, that will be in with us at 9:30.
Otherwise known as Cheeseburger's wife.
Yes, if you're a regular ticket listener. I don't know if she likes to be attached to that.
Probably
name.
not, but this is, kind of his domain.
Yes.
Although
domain.
she's been in studio
Yeah,
before.
she's been in studio.
Not with us.
He's an avid ticket texter. So, but this first segment, well, before we get to the first thing, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Integrative Life Choices. We are sponsored by ILC. ILC is hiring direct support professionals all over the state of Nebraska, full-time, part-time, days, evenings, and weekends. If you're interested, you can apply at ilc.net/careers. Direct support professionals work to ensure a meaningful life for the people they support. They work to support people in achieving their hopes and dreams. Well, this first segment, we are joined in studio. If you're watching, which you can check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, or Allo Channel 951.
Our fan club is
Oh,
back.
we got people coming out. Check us out. Looks like we got a Tostitos NFL chair. I don't think it's the NFL, not the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl chairs, but that Nebraska played in back in 1995. So we are joined in studio by our son, who is a junior at Lincoln East. He's doing for his what's the class called that you're?
It's Take Charge.
So Take Charge. He has to do some job shadowing. So being a big sports fanatic that he is, he's going to be job shadowing Harrison today. So after this first segment, he will be off the camera and job shadowing what Harrison does. So he's going to be with us for the first 30 minutes. So before we get to Ben, we need to do a quick little recap of Farrell's. We started our 10-week challenge yesterday. We have 51 new 10-week members that are decided to take control of their health and wellness. So we're so happy for them. We're excited to have a new group. One thing about Farrell's for Nicole and I is it never gets old, because after one 10-week group leaves, they don't leave, but when they're finished and we see all these amazing changes, another group comes in. So it's like we get to start over every 10 weeks, helping people. So it's just a really, really cool thing. So day one of our 10-week challenge is tomorrow. There's still time to jump on with us. If you're interested, you can go to fxblincoln.com. We usually take enrollments for the challenge usually till the end of week 1. Once we get to week 2, then gets a little dicey for the people starting. So this first week's all about teaching form, technique, building that good foundation for our new members. So again, fxblincoln.com. If you're interested, we'd love to have you. So like I said, we're joined in studio by the son of the Fitness Fanatics. He's in here wearing a Baltimore Ravens jersey. So Ben, I know this is pretty early for you on a Sunday, so you had to get up and actually do some work this morning. Are you awake?
Yeah, I'm pretty awake.
You probably would have been awake anyway, because there's an NFL game going on,
Yes.
right? And you can't sleep during an NFL game.
No, definitely not, especially with the Bills. Yeah.
The Bills, yes. If I get any updates on my phone scoring fantasy stuff, I'll let everybody know. But I don't know if I have any Bills playing today.
My fantasy team's down bad right now. So like it's one of those where I don't keep too many tabs on it. Just watch the games in front of me. It's actually kind of nice. Like when you're kind of down and out of fantasy already, you stop caring a little bit. So now you can just enjoy the product. Like you're not freaking out over every pass. And you're like, okay, who's out there? Who's out there? You can just enjoy the game.
Kind of like being a Bears fan and watching other teams play. You can just watch and
I'll tell you.
That was uncalled for, but we got our first win.
On the way here, I had Ben do a little research for me. So the Bears are 1-4. Last year, Jacksonville was 2-6 and won their division. So there's still hope for the Bears.
The Lions look pretty damn good.
But so yeah, the loss to now we've had 2 Bears games happen since the last time we were on the air. When we got home and the Bears were up 28-7, Ben and I were looking through the schedule. This is about what happened in our house Sunday. Looking through the schedule, and I was like, oh my, we might be able to get to 4-3. I'm like, we play the Commanders, the Vikings. Like I was starting to plot our way into getting above 500. And then after they lost, now I'm on tankathon.com looking at the draft order. Like, well, we got the first and second picks. Here we go.
For all those listening, Jeff, and this is for fact, he immediately texted me after the game. Immediately, he's like, "Hey, number 1 pick looks like if we can get Williams. Number 2, Marvin Harrison."
There we go. And despite winning on Thursday night, the Bears still own the second pick in the draft. And Carolina owns the first pick. Mm-hmm. So we're still sitting at number 1 and number 2.
And you got the Panthers on the schedule, so you beat them. You can really ensure you get their pick.
Yes. So, all right. So we're going to get to Ben. We want to know, we always ask our guests how they became a fan of their favorite NFL team. So we usually try to tell the story of how you became a fan. And I don't know if we've messed a few details up along the way over the last year and a half of telling the story over and over and over again. So I'm a Bears fan. Your mom is a Packers fan. And up until about 4 years ago, you didn't care at all about football. Like I couldn't get anybody to watch a game with me.
I did.
Nicole,
do you feel like you were failing as a father figure?
Friday night, she goes to bed at halftime. In bed of the Husker game.
I wanted to go to bed with 10 minutes left in the second quarter, and I stayed up till halftime.
So yes, it was by myself.
I made a sacrifice.
By myself. Okay, so how did you become a Baltimore Ravens fan?
So it was about 4 years ago. I played this game called Fortnite, and there was a skin called the Raven in it. And then eventually a skin came out, an NFL skin. I was just looking at the teams, and I saw the Ravens on there. And I knew I liked the color purple. And I knew the Vikings were going to be off limits because of Bears and Packers in the house.
Yes,
so
that's smart move.
Yep. One thing we can agree on, yes.
Yep. So I just chose the Ravens, and I just paid attention at the end of that season, which was the 2019 season. And I watched the playoff game where they lost the Titans, and that's how it began.
It began with heartbreak.
And I looked
at Titans.
Harrison, I looked at him and I said, it's a cruel sport, son. So yes. So
well, I mean, you're still a Husker fan, right?
Yes.
So you're aware of the
sadly.
cruelties before your NFL fandom.
Well, when you're born into our family, you're born a Husker fan.
Not really a choice.
Now, sometimes I think my kids maybe wish they were born in a different state somewhere so they could have a different fandom.
We do have Aaron Davis from the text line, and he's a Steelers fan.
Oh,
so he says,
sure.
Ben, please have your Ravens take it easy on my Steelers.
Yep. It's a big weekend.
I have an iffy feeling, though, today. So
iffy? You're iffy about
I'm
it?
iffy about it. Mm-hmm.
Mike Tomlin always just kind of isn't a guy you can just walk in and chalk up a win.
Especially in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and AD knows, like, in the last 3 years, the Ravens are 1-5 against Pittsburgh. Now, what Ben would say, and part of that defense,
you let Ben
is
say.
what?
Well, half of those games is our third and second string quarterbacks. So 3 of them were Lamar, and that one win was Lamar. So yeah, well, actually it wasn't, but yeah.
So I thought Anthony Brown was the quarterback.
It was Mitch Trubisky against Anthony Brown.
Wow, that is a quarterback battle for the ages.
That game right there was close to deciding that year's MVP. I'll tell you.
Yeah, Anthony Brown.
We do have Chubby Rhino as well. And again, you guys can feel free to join the show. 402-464-5685. It says go Ravens with a bunch of exclamation points. I didn't realize we had that many Ravens fans sitting in the ticket.
They're
listeners.
hiding out.
Yeah.
Sitting in the wings in the dark corners.
Yes.
But now that they got Ben here repping the Ravens
There we
jersey, they're
go.
coming out.
And we
Yep.
had a couple weeks ago, we had a couple Ravens fans in here too.
Mhm.
So
I can never figure
Jordan
out
and Justice,
like what the most followed team is. It's probably the Chiefs, right? In Nebraska,
I would imagine. Yes.
Probably.
just because of the Super Bowls. But before
And-
then, it was all over the place. I feel like you go into any household and you're going to get a Ravens,
Yeah.
Packers, and Bears fan all in one household.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why AD, he's a little nervous.
Should be.
In the last 6 games, I think we saw this stat the other day. Like the games have been decided by every game in the last 6 games have been decided by 5 points or less.
Ugh.
So, and I remember a couple years ago in a game Lamar started, right? They scored, went for 2 for the win, and it was just right off of Mark Andrews' fingertips. And so you just throw the records out. And I was telling Ben before he started watching football, I mean, when it was Steelers, Ravens, when Ray Lewis and those Steeler teams in the 2000s when they were winning Super Bowls and Jerome Harrison, and I mean that was just, I mean, Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed, it didn't matter what the record was. You knew it was going to be a fist fight for 60 minutes, low scoring, points were at a premium. It's just, I mean, just unbelievable. Like even me is just not a fan of either team. When it was Steelers, Ravens, it was must watch NFL action. It was hard hitting and it was just unbelievable. So other than now let's switch gears a little bit.
It's a big football weekend in our house.
Oh, it's
or
big.
Sports weekend, I should say.
Yeah,
for
sports
Ben,
weekend.
especially.
Well, for everybody. Thursday night we
Well,
had the
not for
Bears
us, yeah,
win.
but yeah.
Friday
Sure.
night was the Huskers.
We don't talk about Saturday.
Well, no, we're going
Yeah.
to talk about Saturday. So yesterday, so not only one could say, well, yeah, you become a Ravens fan and they're good. Like it's easy to be a fan of a team that's good and stick with them. But he's also a fan of the Baltimore Orioles. So up until I didn't even know he even cared about baseball till like 3 years ago. And he was telling me all this Orioles stuff. I'm like, I don't care. I don't know who any of these players are.
And the Orioles were abysmal.
Yes.
You're in
Yes.
it
So in fact, we have a picture, not this past 4th of July, but last year on the 4th of July, my grandma passed away and we all got together, and my brother-in-law and his twin boys, which would be cousins of Ben, are Yankees fans. So Ben was wearing an Orioles shirt at this get together. And so they weren't good at that time. And they were like, why are you an Orioles fan? Why are you an Orioles fan? So what were the origins of the Orioles becoming an Orioles fan? Because some people like me, I like the Bears and the Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals for baseball. So not everybody is same team.
You're a Cardinals fan too?
Yeah.
Are you too?
Yeah, that's weird.
Oh,
my
That is
my godfather was a Cardinals fan. That's the only reason.
Yeah. So like we're, Harris and I are fans of different cities.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, especially living in Nebraska. So how did that come about?
So my friend was like, 2 of my friends are really into baseball and they were playing MLB The Show a lot. And I was told to download it. I didn't know nothing. I didn't know anything about baseball. And I just all right, I'll download it, see if I can have fun. And it has you choose a favorite team. And I was just looking through them and I saw Baltimore and I was like, oh, it's like the Ravens. And I chose the Orioles. It showed their record when you chose it. And it said 52 and 110 when I chose the Orioles. That was before last season started. And it's almost like me becoming a fan, like brought him back to greatness or something, because as soon as I started becoming a fan, they had a winning season and now they're the 1 seed in the playoffs. So I don't know. It's
Good job.
Yeah.
But they
Good
lost game 1 yesterday.
Yep. Yeah. Tough.
And if anyone's wondering, nobody really knows. Nobody really ever sees the evolution of Jeff during sports games. Well, except maybe Harrison sometimes if you guys are texting, but like as you were talking about the Bears game, like, oh, let's look at the schedule. They could win out, blah, blah, blah. And then by the end, it's like, we're terrible. Well, that is Ben also.
Exactly
So
the
it's
same.
the 4th inning and Ben's basically like, it's over.
They scored 2 runs and I was just,
I don't know where he gets that from.
Rangers are winning. They're sweeping us.
It's over. It's going to be 9-0,
We got it next season. That's what I said.
which you weren't wrong. They did lose, but
Mhm.
I think a lot of that stems from Husker football lately. I'm not gonna lie. Like I think a lot of that's just kind of like a lot of us are used to that feeling and hasn't turned out great
Like-
when you put a ton of faith in them being able to turn it around.
yeah,
One
you're
thing
like
goes wrong.
preserving your soul and heart and, self-preservation.
Just can't keep your hopes up as
Yeah.
a Husker fan. So
But this week, my hopes are high actually.
But
A
we
lot
don't
of
play.
wins.
We don't play this week.
Well, I'm talking for the Bears already
Oh.
got to win.
Yeah.
Nebraska
Right.
got to win. Like
Yeah.
bowls are about to start here pretty soon. So my-
Volleyball still, doing
15
amazing.
and 0.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah,
Still doing great.
did they drop a set yesterday to Michigan?
Nope, they
No.
swept them.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, that first one went.
It was like
pretty close.
27, 25.
Okay, nice,
Mhm.
nice.
Michigan's really bad.
Yeah, they're only 2 wins on the season, I think.
Yeah, they're really
So
bad.
that's why I was like watching that, and I was like, wait a second here. It should be.
I
Yeah,
saw somebody had posted on Twitter that because we're playing Wisconsin in a couple weeks, tickets for that game like on StubHub. Oh,
It's-
we got
There
more
goes Mark
spectators.
He-
running
Mark-
by.
He's going on a run, everybody.
Well, it's because I'm shaming him.
Getting ready
He's-
for the
he's-
halvesy.
Yeah, he's doing the halvesy with us, and he's ran like 4 miles. So
He didn't look very sweaty though, so I wonder if he was really
Maybe he
actually
just started.
running. Yeah.
He just like was walking, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm running by the."
Oh
ticket
yeah,
now."
walk, and then when he runs by the camera, that's like me out on a race. Like if I see the camera on a run, I mean, I gotta pick it up and like I look like
Your
a
form and
professional
everything.
runner when I
Okay.
see the camera. Wave
Back
and
to
stuff.
what we were talking about.
Okay, so I was gonna talk about like I'm not a huge baseball fan.
No, we were talking about Wisconsin, the tickets.
Oh, that's right.
For the volleyball
That's
game.
my train of thought.
Yeah.
$400
Wow.
for a ticket to that volleyball match.
That's pretty good.
It's
That's
a-
$400.
It's gonna be
It's
stressful.
the 1 versus 2.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Ooh.
I mean, that's gonna be, and that's just gonna be amazing.
hmm
I'm excited for that.
And that's next weekend, I think, next Sunday or
Mhm.
Monday, or
Is
when
it?
is that?
I don't know.
16th, somewhere around there.
I'll look it up real quick.
Okay.
But I know Nebraska, they're definitely gonna be hungry to
Oh,
get that
boy.
one over.
Well, they haven't
Yeah.
beat them in like last 7-8 matches.
Mm-hmm. Wisconsin's got a nice run right now
including
on
the
Nebraska.
national championship.
Yeah,
Yep.
including this is a funny story. When we played Wisconsin for the national championship, it was set point, match point, championship point, and Nebraska hit the ball and they said it was out of bounds. And I'm like, I am not watching Wisconsin celebrate. Forget it. And I turned it off, went to bed.
Well, you didn't turn it off.
I
'Cause
turned it-
Didn't you watch it,
No,
Ben?
no,
Nope.
he turned it off,
Oh.
and then I opened
I
my
turn-
phone.
Yeah, go ahead.
I opened my phone and I see like a comment on a game thread or something, and it said like, "I can't believe they overturned that call."
So Harrison,
Game.
had Nebraska would have won the national championship, I would have been in bed sleeping.
See, just as bad as me.
It didn't
It
even
was
matter
amazing.
because
No.
they scored literally the next volley. But yeah,
Yeah.
they overturned the call and we turned the game off.
So they still had a shot, and I'm just like, forget it, it's over. So that was pretty bad. So yeah, we'll be tuning in. Did you see when that game was? Did you look it up?
It's texting. I have the same brain you do. I started texting work and because I was like, oh, let me answer these work
Did you
texts.
think it was the 16th?
Yeah,
'Cause
somewhere-
the 12th
somewhere
was the
around there.
Thursday.
What's
Somewhere
not
around there.
No, I
here?
think it's the 21st.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah,
the
I-
same as the Northwestern game.
Oh,
It
okay.
is.
Yes, that's right. Yes. So
It's
we
at
have
6 p.m. I know that.
right when you'll be marching.
Yep, I know for my state marching band. I know. I checked. That's why I knew that.
Okay. Yes.
Mhm.
So state marching band. So we'll be at East Seacrest watching Ben march.
I know, but just following along like on a phone is less stressful than watching it. Watching it is very stressful, especially
very stressful.
volleyball.
Yeah, 7:00, October 21st.
Oh,
Yep.
oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be
Ben
back
nailed
by
it,
then
So
because
Mhm.
you march at 6.
Yep.
15 minutes, and I don't have to hang out for any reason or pick you up. So that's good. So yeah, I'll be home. Hey,
Oh.
Mark's done running
Yeah,
already.
already
He
wrapped it up.
literally ran right by the window. He ran into DP, and now they're walking back to the station.
He just needed a reason to
well,
stop.
suspicious. He is wearing workout clothes at least, so
So he has the
makes it a
appearance,
little
Part of the
legit.
act.
Yeah.
Part
appearance
of the act.
that he's doing
It's part of the
something.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
Okay.
So Ben is a junior at East. So you went to school with Malachi Coleman.
Mhm.
In fact, you were the first one to actually see Coach Rule in person.
Yeah, just sitting. I was sitting down eating lunch, and I just look up Matt Rule's at the back of my cafeteria just talking to Malachi. And I was just like, oh, well, there's Matt Rule in our cafeteria.
Snapped a pic for the group
Yep,
family group chat.
Yeah, I didn't go to school with anybody. No, I did go to school with one person that played for Iowa. And I won't mention this person's name because it ended up being a scandal. Like he sold, like he was giving away Iowa's playbook to, like he sold Iowa's playbook.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't know how much money that'd get you today. But
Scandalous.
Well,
back then maybe.
Yeah, back in the late 90s.
Today
but-
you might get,
So it was a big
10
scandal.
cents.
Yes, but he actually started defensive end for Iowa back in the like 97, 98. Went to school with me, so I did know him. So that's my claim to fame, the guy who sold his team out, sold the playbook. But Ben goes to school with a lot of baseball players. Like, how many people do you know that are like going to college to play baseball?
So
go to
we have two juniors that are committed to Nebraska, and then we have our catcher, who's the number 3 player in the state for 2025, and he's committed to Michigan for catcher.
Yeah,
And
we
he's
got to
also-
work. We got to work on that.
He's also our starting quarterback as well.
Yes,
So-
that's Jeter Worthley, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And East is doing pretty good football season. What's their record right now?
I'm not sure how many wins we have, but I know we have 2 losses, but we are undefeated against LPS schools. So
The city champions.
yeah,
Yep.
I'm really
I'll take
hoping.
that.
I'm really hoping East plays like Bellevue West, or so I can go watch the future Huskers.
Danny
play.
Caitlin.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Kalen been nice. He's had a little bit of a rocky start, but I think he's turning it back on. I'd have to double check his numbers, but I know Kalen, his first few games, he's kind of rocky. Not what you're hoping for, but I think he's starting to pick it back up. So I
Yeah.
got to check on that. Daniel Kalen's got to keep eyes on because I think he's starting to turn it back on.
So one question I did have for you, Ben, because like when we lived in Iowa, you weren't really a big sports fan at all. Was it moving to Nebraska and being just
Immersed.
immersed in, like, I remember your 5th grade band concert. You guys played the Husker fight song.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So I was like, I still have it on my phone. I'm like, this is literally the coolest thing I've ever seen. Right?
Could you imagine if they made us play the Iowa fight song?
Would you play it or would you have boycotted it?
I think I would have boycotted.
Just
I
pretend.
don't know if I would have had to play the Iowa fight song. I don't know what I would have done.
Just pretend.
Yeah,
Play.
no, that would have been awful.
That would have been terrible.
So was
Agree.
it like meeting friends in school that are Husker fans? Like, because you just really had no interest. I mean, I couldn't pay the kids to come out and watch a game with me. Here's $10. We're playing Ohio State. No, I'm going to play Xbox or whatever.
I think it's just the fact that I could wear a Husker shirt to school and not get like bullied and harassed
Yeah.
by people wearing Iowa stuff, and
Mhm.
like people could just relate to me. I think that's what it was. And then actually being close to the games and being able to go and stuff, I think it just really brought me in, and I've just loved it. So,
Mhm.
I don't know.
And I have
And
had
you're
to-
not surrounded by the gold and black and gold.
Yeah, because
everywhere.
even our school was black and gold.
Yeah,
Like,
your school
yeah.
colors in Iowa were
Mhm.
Hawkeye colors. So I think that was more of a negative for you. Like, ew, I don't.
Yeah,
Wanna, yeah.
mhm.
didn't have to suffer the abuse that I did growing up,
Yep.
which we were winning.
I do have John chiming in saying no boycotting allowed. It's a great song.
Bubba.
Oh,
I have to hear it all the time. A lot of my friends are Iowa fans still, so they'll just play it like just all the time and sing it. Like, so I still listen to it, but
You
yeah.
still hear it.
not by choice.
But it is nice when Nebraska loses or whatever. I can come to Farrell's and there's other miserable people with me that we can talk about it.
You guys probably have
Yes.
great workouts too. After a Nebraska loss, I'd imagine there's some good energy going.
No, there's a myth at the gym that, like, whenever we lose, people are like, "When's Jeff teaching on Monday?" Like, it's a myth that when Nebraska loses, I'm just like this psychopath
Mean
instructor that's just berating people, and I'm just like so upset. But the bottom line is, since we've lived here for 5.5 years, I've only instructed on a Monday 19 times, 5 years that we've won. So, like, I mean, maybe it's just because we've lost so much. It's just how I am
Well,
normally.
I guess we'll see. Well, I mean, oh yeah, I guess we'll see tomorrow.
Well, it's day,
Well, it's day
one,
one.
so I
Yeah.
got to be nice. Oh, so one thing before we went to break, Harrison, I don't know if you saw this. Last night, Miami Hurricanes
Me and Jay broke. I didn't realize Jay's got a lot of hurricane ties, but go
Okay.
ahead.
Was playing Georgia Tech with 40 seconds left, and literally they just had to take a knee and the game was over.
Yeah.
And they ran a play, fumbled, and then not only they fumble, Georgia Tech went 75 yards in like 25 seconds
Yeah, 2 plays.
to win.
I think it was 2, at least 2 completions.
That is probably more egregious than anything we have literally ever seen in Nebraska.
In my entire viewing of college football.
Right? And I saw
It is called victory formation.
Yes.
When you have the opportunity for victory formation, you won the game. You just have to. I can't think of a single reason why they ran the ball.
Well, and I saw this morning that Mario Cristobal has done this before.
Really?
He was the coach at Oregon, and they were playing Stanford, and somebody broke it out, that like the whole timeline. Like they could have taken 3 knees in a row and then punted, and Stanford would have had the ball with 10 seconds left. Like had they done the proper clock management, but they ran it. Oregon fumbled. Stanford recovered. They kicked a field goal. It went to overtime. Stanford beat them in overtime.
That's like more of a reason to not do it. Why would he is it like redemption or?
I mean, that's literally almost a fireable offense.
Like the Oregon one, you can like at least there's an argument. Like it's still probably been smarter to just go ahead and take the knees and punt. But at least there's an argument. Like okay, if we get the first down though, then we don't have to worry about kick. This one, it is literally one. You don't have to get another first down.
No, you just knee it and it's over. And that's even like when we played Illinois under Mike Riley and Armstrong threw the pass and it was incomplete and we could have just ran it. The game wouldn't have been over at that point. So there was still time. Yes, we let them save 40 seconds because we threw a pass. I mean, so that was kind of egregious, but to literally not take a knee to end the game, it's just mind boggling to me.
Yeah, it was obviously getting late. So I caught the end of that one. It was the Arizona game that I couldn't see, but I saw that one went all the way to overtime too. But yesterday was just a crazy day in college football. But I want to get to these 2 Facebook ones real quick. From Elliot and Megan, they're both saying it's not a myth. You. So if Nebraska loses, it is not a myth. Apparently, you don't want to catch Jeff's class.
Okay, so it's not a myth. Apparently,
That's funny. But just to talk about that, Ben did say that what did you say when you're playing Madden? You've done that playing Madden before.
Yep. Playing Madden when you run the ball when you could just take a knee, the announcers like they'll talk about how it's like I don't know why they didn't take a knee. I remember like back in 1974, the Giants fumbled versus the Niners for a touchdown and they lost.
Yeah, they'll give you examples.
It's built into the. So I mean, I guess it happens enough that it's The
only time I could see that being acceptable is if you're going for like a record or something, because the Ravens did that against the Broncos 2 years ago. And Vic Fangio was just livid, just throwing the clipboard down, throwing his headset. And I mean, Lamar got the record. So it was like consecutive games rushing from a QB, 100 yards rushing. And he did it. Could have just taken a knee. But that's the only time I could see it being acceptable.
And NFL is a little different than college too.
But if Lamar would have fumbled,
yeah,
Denver could have won the game, or was it out of reach?
It was like 20, it was 24-7.
So it was out of reach.
But still, I think that I don't know. Yeah.
So if like in that situation, if the Ravens were up 24-20 and they were trying to get the record,
take the knee.
And he fumbled, and then they scored and beat him, that was kind of the same thing.
I don't even care if he's at 100 and taking the knee loses the record because he goes down to 99. I'd take the knee.
Right.
So that's the other crazy thing about that Miami game is not only do they make that horrific call and then fumble it, you're in cover 3. How they got like why gamble on the interception? He tried to jump the route.
Yeah.
It just blew my mind.
And they were 5-0.
Yes.
It's undefeated season.
You didn't?
No, the Miami was 5-0.
Yeah, they were 4-0.
Oh,
because they're 4-1 now.
Miami is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They
They were 4-0. Now they're 4-1. So isn't that crazy?
I mean, it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, we're not cursed. It does happen.
And
it's just like
as I was
people
watching,
make bad choices all the time.
As I was watching like the Alabama game yesterday, they had like 3 straight false starts in a row. Alabama, and I'm like, well, Nebraska's not the only team to do that.
And that was after they scored a touchdown on a blocked field goal.
Yes,
and a player blindside blocked person that was like 20 yards behind the runner. Like
Yes.
he didn't have to do it at all.
Yes, it was like they blocked the field goal, returned it for touchdown, and a Bama player, like Ben said, 20 yards behind the play, just blindside blocked a Texas A&M player, took the touchdown off the board,
And then three straight false starts and a punt.
Yeah,
That's what it
That's
was.
like-
brutal.
and that's
pretty
coming from Alabama.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Nebraska's not the only one that does dumb things sometimes.
They
I
got
mean,
the
it's
win,
just
though.
yeah, well, they did win, yeah, and we
That
won.
punt set up a safety as well. So
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's crazy to see like players and coaches making these just.
It just tells you that
crazy
everyone's
decisions.
human. It's just like
That's
a
right.
split second thing, and there's so much pressure and it's so obvious. But like when you have a lot going on, you might do something as stupid as forget victory formation.
that's pretty
or
bad.
jump before the ball snapped.
Yeah,
And I mean, you know that.
I-
You have that story.
I saw. Oh, yeah, he brings this up. So when I was in high school,
I don't know if you've told this before, but
we were getting ready to play kind of like our spring game, so I was the senior. And now everybody who's listened knows that I played in the JV games as a senior.
Mhm.
But in that spring game, like this final game before the season started, I actually trotted out with the number 1 unit for
It's your chance.
for the varsity
Wide
team
receiver.
as a wide receiver, the number 1 unit on the first play of the game. I had the play, I run it in, I tell the quarterback, which is like now you just tell the quarterback the play, right? Well, they would tell me the play, zebra X. I'm like,
Yeah,
and
we
I
have
have
that.
to
You got to
run-
run it to the
Yes.
sidelines.
and I'm like, oh my gosh,
Uh-huh.
I have to remember this play for
that
the
was
next
a big
10
ask
seconds.
for you.
That was huge.
Yeah.
So I ran out the number 1 unit. We line up for the first play, and I got called for a false start.
just
You were
jump
so
on the-
excited.
Just never saw the field again
I didn't know this was happening today.
with the number 1 unit. I was
and
demoted.
you were the one giving the play call.
I ran out. I forgot about that. I was with the number 1 unit for the varsity team as a senior. I just remember this like it was yesterday. I was in the slot receiver. I gave the quarterback the play, and I just jumped.
All right, we need to go to
All
break.
All right. Well, Ben,
On that.
thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Yeah, of
Hopefully, a lot of your buddies were watching. You're going to be spending the rest of the show with Harrison,
Behind
and we're
the
going to be
board.
joined by Beth Wasserberger. Talk a little bit about Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on 93.7 The Ticket, the Fitness Fanatics.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln and across Nebraska by offering a number of services. From group homes to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people with developmental disabilities, you can check out open positions along with learning more about services at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
Looking for a convenient place to get that big fitness energy? It's Planet Fitness. Now through October 13th, you can join for just $1 down, $10 a month. We've got over 2,400 locations with most open 24 hours. Join now to enjoy free fitness training and equipment for every workout. Whether you're new to a gym or a fitness pro, the Judgment Free Zone is the place for you. Join Planet Fitness today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment. Cancel anytime. Deal ends October 13th. See Home Club for details.
Most parents have a homework schedule for the weekdays, but don't forget to cover the weekends. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. A good way to avoid a problem is to set a homework schedule for the weekend. Set aside a couple hours of homework time on Saturday and help your student avoid staying up late Sunday night to finish a project. Remember, communicating with your child's teacher is vital for student success.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity,
not to make friends, but just to get something to eat?
Or a retiree who fell ill and had to
choose between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the one in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
I'm Christy. I used to smoke cigarettes. I had smoker's cough and severe shortness of breath, and I knew I had to quit. Then I tried e-cigarettes, but I just ended up using both. I really didn't start to get better until I quit smoking completely. My tip to you is just cutting down on the number of cigarettes you smoke isn't enough.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Ashiro's work is never done. You care for the house, the kids, and our future. We're so grateful for all you do. Now it's time to care for yourself and save a little more for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to boost your retirement savings now. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro today.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket as soon as the clock hits 0 for the Jay Foreman postgame show. Listen to expert analysis from the Husker Hall of Famer, an 8-year NFL veteran for 90 minutes after the game. The Jay Foreman postgame show, sponsored by Tanner's Bar and Grill, Vinny Kreekak, and Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Reading is an important key to student success. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Take your young reader to the library, get some great books, sit down and read together, and help your more advanced readers find books they'll enjoy on their own. Also know that most public libraries let you borrow ebooks that can be downloaded to your smartphones, tablets, or laptops.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends, surprise parties, camps, birthdays. The same way you plan for the important moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Now back to Fitness Fanatics on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. We had a quick message I wanted Nicole to read from Casey that chimed in on, what was it, on the Facebook page?
Yeah.
Facebook, what did she say?
You have it up, Harrison?
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. From Facebook. This one's just this might be one of my favorite comments we've had so far. Jeff talks like he's a professional football coach, but could barely play high school football.
And it was Casey, who Bryce and Casey is our fan club.
Yeah, I'm getting heckled
by our live outside of the studio audience.
Getting heckled by the fans outside.
Which they're not here now because they had to go to church.
They know you too well at this point.
They send that message and then they ran off. That's what happened. They knew I was coming out after them, so they took off.
No, they had to go to church.
All right. Well, we're joined. We're going to kind of switch gears a little bit here. We're joined in studio by one of our Farrell's members, Beth Wasserberger. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Maybe
How
a
are
little,
you?
a little closer to the mic there.
Scooch. There you go.
All right. So it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we wanted to have you in because this is something you're currently going through,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
But before we get to the serious stuff, we want to keep it a little lighthearted for this next segment. We want our listeners and for Nicole and I just to get to know you a little bit better. So what we want to know is where you grew up and went to school, and then also if you were active, like what sports you were active in growing up.
Okay, so I'm not from this side of the state. I grew up in Shatter, Nebraska. So lived there for 18 years before I graduated high school. I started wrestling when I was 5. I did that all the way up through until I was 17. My senior year, I tore all the cartilage in my shoulder, and that ended that. Yeah, shoulder
Fun.
surgery number 1. And then let's see. When I was little, we did youth soccer probably from I think we started when I was 5 up until probably 10 or 12, and then kind of phased that out. Middle school, I did volleyball and track, and then I managed the wrestling team then because they wouldn't allow girls to wrestle on the middle school team at that point. And then high school was volleyball, and then I did volleyball all 4 years, and then my freshman year, they also wouldn't allow me to wrestle on the team, so I was a manager, and I went up to like the state level to be able to wrestle on the high school team, which is kind of cool since girls wrestling now is so big in high school. That was the first step in Nebraska to let girls wrestle on the high school teams.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask if you were kind of a trailblazer for that because
a little bit. I wasn't the only girl in Nebraska wrestling kind of at that time, but no one else was on the high school team. They wouldn't allow it, which in my mind was awful. But so I pushed and pushed on that. But I also wrestled in the off season, all girls tournaments and stuff that were just slowly starting because I graduated in 2008. So it took from 2008 until last year in order for it to even be a girls division in Nebraska. So it's kind of mind blowing. It takes that long, but it's a very, very slow snowball, if you will. And let's see. I did track in middle school. I didn't continue that in high school. I like to run, but I'd rather not be judged on my running per se.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like wrestling is your passion.
it is. So this is my 3rd year. I'm the head coach to the Lincoln Girls Wrestling here in Lincoln, and it's the only all girls club in all of Nebraska.
Very cool.
All right. Well, we are up against a break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on 93.7 The Ticket.
Get all of your favorite restaurants delivered with VenueDelivered.com. One place for ordering delicious appetizers, refreshing salads, hot entrees, fresh sandwiches, and more. From Venue Restaurant and Lounge, Piedmont Bistro, and all Lincoln Good Sense Subs locations. Download our phone app to earn rewards on all of your carryout and delivery orders. Available on Apple and Android, just search for the Pillar Restaurants app. That's the Pillar Restaurants app. Download today.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
I had smoker's cough and severe shortness of breath, and I knew I had to quit. Then I tried e-cigarettes, but I just ended up using both. I really didn't start to get better until I quit smoking completely. My tip to you is just cutting down on the number of cigarettes you smoke isn't enough.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Protect your legacy.
Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Getting experience to jumpstart a meaningful career can be difficult, and education can cost a fortune. Luckily, AmeriCorps can be the solution. With AmeriCorps, you'll earn a stipend and education award while helping people. Plus, you'll gain professional skills and make connections to help you build your career. If you're ready to start a career you can be proud of, visit serve.nebraska.gov/service to find a program for you. Paid for by Serve Nebraska, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You don't think about your roof very often, but you should never take it for granted. Roofing Service Company takes every measure to provide you with the highest quality roofing solution. Whether it's a new roof installation, roof repair, or a re-roofing project, their overall goal is to provide you with a pleasant experience and a long-lasting roof. If you have a need for siding or gutters, they're your place too. Visit roofingservicecompany.com for more info today.
Reading is an important key to student success. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Take your young reader to the library, get some great books, sit down and read together, and help your more advanced readers find books they'll enjoy on their own. Also know that most public libraries let you borrow ebooks that can be downloaded to your smartphones, tablets, or laptops.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hungered in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Now back to Fitness Fanatics on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Okay, welcome back in. We're going to pick up our conversation about you being a head coach for the Lincoln Girls Wrestling Club. So tell us a little bit about that. Like where I mean, if there's girls out there looking to get involved in something like that, kind of tell us a little bit about what you do there in that organization.
So Lincoln Girls Wrestling was actually, Pete, he was the one who started it probably, I think, 5 years ago. He started it when COVID happened. And so the numbers kind of dwindled down during COVID, like anything else did.
Mm-hmm.
And then my daughter was wrestling with a different club and it wasn't a good fit. So we had reached out and he's like, oh, well, if you want to coach, because I told him about my background in wrestling. And that's something that you still don't find very often, is actually a female who's wrestled majority of her life.
Oh, sure.
So I went ahead and stepped in. In the first season, I kind of just, I didn't want to step on toes. I kind of watched and I was like, all right, if this is a dumpster fire, I'm out. Like, I'd rather do my own thing. But it was actually really good. And so going into our third year, like our first year, we probably had 25 or so kids. Last year, we were pushing 50 to 60 girls.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to continue to grow as the high school grows, because they want to have the bases already started as they're going up into those spots. So, I mean, if there's girls out there looking, like, we have a Facebook group, was usually what we send people to, or there's a website. I don't remember the website off the top of my head, but the Facebook group is just Lincoln Girls Wrestling. And on there, we'll post information. We actually have a clinic coming up. It should be the middle of October. The dates aren't set yet. So there's 2 days we go in. And we basically, anyone who wants to come in and try it, it's free. Come on up. You don't have shoes, just wear shorts, wear a t-shirt, wear your socks. And we kind of go through the very basics, answer questions, and then we can get you signed up. We do like a preseason that starts the first week after Halloween, so the first week of November. and preseason goes through the end of the year, and then actual season is January, and we wrap up in March with state wrestling in not Grand Island, Kearney. And then from there, we've actually been doing a freestyle. So folk style is what we generally do. Freestyle, we do a second season from March to May, and that is also included in your. We do like a one-time fee for it all, which is kind of nice. It also includes like paying for tournaments and your singlets and everything. So I mean, even if you think that wrestling's expensive, it's really not. I mean, we work with people all the time. Like if you can't afford the shoes, we have a tote of shoes you can use.
Yeah.
So I mean, and generally, like my favorite thing about working with the girls in wrestling is you watch their confidence build so much faster than you do in any other sport.
That's kind of what I was going to ask. Like, what was it for you that made wrestling? Because you played a ton of other sports. Like, what was it for you that was wrestling was the thing that you loved the most? What was that? Because I think that's something that maybe if you have a child out there and they're struggling to find their place in sports, maybe this would be something. So, like, what was that for you?
So originally I started because my twin brother, he was wrestling. I was like, well, I want to do it too. And when you're little, you want to do it. My dad's like, all right, fine, whatever. And then I started doing it. And it's like, this is something that it's not a team sport. I mean, even in high school, when you wrestle, you're on a team, or in the club, you're on a team and you get team points, but it's you on the mat and you're the one who determines what you do. I mean, and as I grew, the love for it became the work I put in is what I'm going to get back out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like being one of the only girls out there was people like, I wish I had your drive to do it. And it's like, well, you could, you just have to be willing to step outside of a comfort zone and outside of this box that the society put you in,
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, even coaching these girls, a lot of them, some of them are still getting grief for wrestling. And they're like, oh, it's not something they should be doing. It's like, well, but why?
Yeah.
Because you're showing that you actually have muscles and you're stronger. I mean, it's kind of, and I kind of laugh because sometimes things we do in ferals, like with kickboxing, I was like, this ties right in with wrestling. I was like, why is there such a stigma about, women or girls doing kickboxing or wrestling or, taekwondo, anything like that, anything physical? It's something that women should be able to do and be proud of instead of doing it and hiding behind it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. Well, even with kickboxing, like for ferals, most of our members are females. So it seems like, so most of our female members, obviously they love kickboxing. So that like definitely seems like something that if we could have a lot of these women exposed to that at a younger age, as girls in wrestling, that would be really cool. Casey commented on Facebook and said, Beth's even more BA than I thought. Does Grant know how much she married up? So just another comment from
He
Casey.
gets that comment a lot, actually. He's like, I don't know how I swung it. He's like, it's what it
You
is.
just luck into it sometimes.
Right.
I agree. Yeah.
We all kind of go out of our league. Like, I mean, I know I did.
That's because I was young, I guess.
Young and stupid.
Yeah.
I just didn't know any better.
I lived in a small town. I hadn't gone out, and it worked out. It's worked out so far. That's what I say.
All right. Yeah. Well, we're up against the break here. So at the top of the hour, we're going to get into Beth's journey with breast cancer and kind of get into that. So don't go anywhere. Please join us here at the top of the hour, 93.7 The Ticket on the Fitness Fanatics.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $24.62 per hour, which grows to $28.97 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $33.36 per hour, with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today. Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln and across Nebraska by offering a number of services. From group homes to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people with developmental disabilities, you can check out open positions along with learning more about services at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them?
By their clothes,
Their age.
the way they speak. Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids. First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. Next, I put it in reverse. Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council. Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
The dangers of secondhand smoke are well known. But what about secondhand aerosol, which is created when using e-cigarettes? Science already shows a secondhand aerosol can contain nicotine, heavy metals, and cancer-causing agents. Eliminating exposure to secondhand aerosol is an important step to keeping everyone safe. Breathe easier knowing the facts.
For help quitting, call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
I think it's just vapor. Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
One vape pod has as much nicotine as one pack of cigarettes.
My kid
knows it's dangerous.
5.4 million American kids vape, and most think it's harmless. Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org. That's talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Welcome into Fitness Fanatics on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now here are your hosts, Jeff and Nicole Essink.
Welcome back in top of hour 2 here on the Fitness Fanatics. If you've missed any part of the show, you can check us out on the ticketfm.com's website. We are under Ticket Weekends tab. Also, any of your favorite podcasting platforms, we are on there also. You can check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, or you can even watch us on television. Allo channel 951. I mean, if you want to turn it from the NFL game and watch us instead, I think that's a good choice.
And you don't have to pay an extra subscription.
Yeah,
to
you don't have to
something
pay.
else.
Yeah, you don't have to pay extra to watch the Fitness Fanatics on TV. It's just part of your normal everyday Allo package.
And we do have one from the text line, and again, this one makes me laugh. Kind of going on what Beth was saying about women totally belonging in sports like wrestling or kickboxing, whatever it may be. Crowbait says, I started martial arts when I was 4. I was the youngest black belt in Nebraska at the time. When I was 12, ended at a 3rd degree black belt, and I stopped at 16. Never forgot, I did sparring tournament in Seward when I was 8, and this girl beat the snot out of me. I still have nightmares.
That's right.
And that's a black belt saying that.
Yep.
So they definitely belong.
That's right.
All right. And then we had a message from Bridget
Yeah,
also
so
that was
Bridget
listening.
said she loves hearing the story about wrestling. When I was in middle school, I wanted to do wrestling, but my dad was dead set against it because he didn't want me to wrestle boys. And we talked about that off air. Like, our daughter wasn't in wrestling. She's not really the sports kid, but we grew up in a neighborhood with all boys. And so she played with them all the time. She was always out wrestling in the yard with the boys. And I think that's what a great confidence boost. I've always said boys were never this mystery to her because she grew up around them and, equal to them and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
what a great confidence boost for girls too, to be a part of a sport. I mean, I know we have girls wrestling now, which is great, but like to be able to feel like they're still kind of pioneering something, new and like you said, trailblazing for future athletes. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into your story, Beth. So take us back to when this all started. So I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So my cancer story started last year. It would have been in June. I was super sick, which that ends up being ended up having like some kind of virus. But so I was super sick for like a week, couldn't keep anything down. Like I was one with the bed, like not moving. And then I was having pain in my lower back and like my sides and stuff. So I finally, after a week, because I'm the stubborn mom who never goes in, so I finally went into urgent care and I was like, all right, I was like, I just need to know that I'm not dying, basically. And so urgent care was like, oh, well, we think because of this, this, and this, you have kidney stones. So this was on a Sunday. She's like, so follow up with your a primary provider. And then I was like, okay. So I got in on Tuesday and my provider's like, well, okay, I think, I do agree. I think you have kidney stones. Let's go ahead and send you over for a CT scan just to verify what's going on. So same day, I just went right over to AMI and they took me in for the CT scan. And I'll never forget the look on that tech's face. Like he came out and he looked like he had saw a ghost. And the techs that are there, they're not allowed to tell you like what they see on the scan or anything. You have to go to your doctor and know where to say it. So he brought a phone out. He's like, hey, here's your doctor. And she wants you to go right back over right now. And I was like, okay, fine. Thankfully, my doctor was like literally 4 blocks away. So I'm not
Yeah.
driving across town. I'm like, all right. I was like, to me, I'm like, oh, they must have been really bad kidney stones. Or like, let's go and cut these out. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I go over there and last year, we're still kind of at that tail end of like in medical facilities wearing masks and stuff. And so I walked in and she's like, all right. And she came in right away. I mean, there was no wait time. Like I walked in, she was in within seconds and shut the door. And she was like, all right. She's like, she's like, well, take off your mask. This is bad. And I'm like, well, what's up? And she's like, so I think you need to know that you have ovarian cancer, which isn't necessarily the case as we go forward. And I was like, well, okay. And she's like, so you need to go back and do an ultrasound and like 2 more scans. And she's like, and you need to clear the rest of the day. You need to call and tell these people. And me as the mom, I'm like, no, I have scheduled. I had all 3 of my kids had their well child checks. I was like, I have those in like 3 hours. She's like, well, we got to call and reschedule. I was like, no. No, I was like, these have been set for months. We're not touching this. I was like, well, you got to call your husband. I was like, I'm not. My husband works on railroad tracks. I was like, I'm not going to call him and give him this news where it's going to devastate his life and he can, in turn get hurt or whatever. Because I don't give that
Before
headache
you know
news.
more.
No,
Yeah.
I'm
I
like,
would have been the
no.
same way.
I'm
I
like,
don't-
no. I was like,
Yeah,
all right. I was like,
I
let's
know.
go do these scans. I was like, but I got to be out of here by 3:00 because I got to get my kids. I got to go do my stuff. And so I went back over to AMI and I mean, what they saw originally, like I got to see it later on, but it was bad enough that they got me in instantly. So I went over there, we did the CT scans and we did the ultrasound and I've had enough experience with ultrasounds that I can kind of read them because I've had ovarian cysts in the past and I was like, "Hey, can I look at it?" She's like, "Yeah, no problem." She can't tell me, but she let me look at it. And at that point I was like, "Okay." I was like, there was a lot of cysts involved and I was like, "All right, whatever." So then I actually went back to the doctor and heard from her and she's like, "Well, we're going to send you to an oncologist." Within 48 hours, I was at an oncologist office. So that night when I had got home, my husband just thought I had a whole bunch of stuff going on and I hadn't told him anything. And so he came in, Poor Grant. So he got home, he had like 2 sandwiches made, and he comes and he sits in bed. He's like, "Hey, how was your day?" And I'm like, I'm barely holding it together at that point. And like before, he's like, "Well, what's wrong?" And so I'm like, it's like, "Hey," he's like, "Well, what did they say?" And I was like, "It's kidney stones." I was like, "No, they told me it's cancer." And then he's like, "Well, now I'm not eating." And I was like, "I'm sorry. I should have waited till after you ate your food." So, we didn't tell anyone at that point because I mean, we were still kind of in the dark. So 2 days later, we went to the oncologist. So, I go to NHO here, and they're really awesome. And we see my oncologist has been doing it for over 30 years. So she's very good at what she does. And so she's like, "It's not ovarian cancer, it's breast cancer that has spread."
Mm.
And, at that point, she's like, "What I know is that it's in your breasts, and it's definitely in other areas of your body." So, we scheduled, I wanna say it was, like, 10 different scans and 6 different biopsies all in one day.
Wow. Yeah.
And they're like, like, move it apart." I was like, "No, if we're gonna do it, let's do it." And so, I was in at AMI within I was there on a Monday, so that was a Friday, and the following Monday, I was there from 6 AM to 6 PM. The thing with a liver biopsy is you're not allowed to eat or drink anything at all.
Mm.
So I was there, and they were poking and prodding and everything. I had, there was 6 no, 5 biopsies on my breast, which ended up having a lot of blood loss that went with it,
Wow.
along with a mammogram, and, I mean, we were talking head to toe scans, contrast, non-contrast, and then we finally got to the end, and the guy's like, "Well, you don't have to do the liver biopsy, it's getting late." I was like, "Dude, I haven't ate all day." When you go to the
Yeah.
mammogram side, they're eating cookies. I was like, "This is crap."
I didn't not eat all day long
Yes.
to not do this test.
Oh, and so they did that, and so we went back in on a Thursday, and she was calling because, I mean, she was, like, on top of it, calling to get answers, like, they weren't even officially in black and white, she had answers, and so we went in, and she's like, "Alright, so your official diagnosis is that you have stage 4, breast cancer, and mine is, estrogen and progesterone positive, but HER2 negative." So in breast cancer, if you're triple positive or triple negative, that's bad. It's really, really hard to treat those ones. So it was good that I had at least one negative. So with estrogen and progesterone based, it's like an automatic, we have to turn off all the hormones in your body.
Mhm.
And so I was diagnosed at 32. And so I'm like, okay, so we put me into instant menopause.
Mhm.
Like it was we started shots to shut off my ovaries and completely shut that down. And then from there, we did she's like, we went over it. So like I said, it was my left breast had actually three tumors that were stacked on top of each other, but I never felt a bump. There was never a lump anywhere in my body. Like, I went in because I had back pain,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that's the scary part. So it was in my left chest or my left side. My right side had a benign tumor. It was in my both of my lungs. My liver was probably half full with tumors, and then from my basically the bottom of my skull all the way down to my hips and my bones, there wasn't a bone that wasn't untouched, and then there was spots also on my skull. So, like, it was everywhere, and so, they call stage 4 basically is when the tumor leaves the breast. It goes anywhere except for a lymph node. Like stage 1 and stage 2 are both just primarily in the breast. Stage 3 is when it's gone. Well, I guess stage 2 can technically be in a lymph node, but only one. And if there's more than one lymph node, you're stage 3. If it's anywhere outside of that, you're stage 4. And so since I was diagnosed stage 4 out of the gate, it's called de novo. And that's is a term I've never heard of, and I was like, "Oh, okay, so there's an actual term for my funness.
Mhm.
Great."
Yeah.
So, from there, I mean, she got all that diagnosis, and my calcium levels were through the roof. So I was on an IV for calcium that same day, and she's like, "Well, we're gonna try a chemo pill," and that's what she wanted to do at first. And then, as I was sitting there with that IV, she got back the aggression rate of my cancer, and she came basically running out of the hall. And so we were finishing the IV, and she goes, "Okay, we're originally gonna do a pill. Here's what's gonna happen. I schedule you to get a port in," which a port is something they put in your chest so that they don't have to stick your IV all the time, which it's I had a love-hate relationship with mine. So we scheduled to get a port in on Tuesday. This was a Thursday. So a Tuesday, and you're starting IV chemo on the following Friday. And I was like, well, I don't understand what happened.
Mhm.
Well, what happened is, so an regression rate, anything below a 20 is, they're like, well, it's not bad. A 20 is considered bad. Mine was at a 70.
Oh my gosh.
And so she's like, we're gonna hit this fast. And we started with 2 IV chemos. And I mean, they give you IV chemos and steroids and like a whole plethora of stuff through an IV. And I mean, we didn't really have time to sit down and like comprehend anything because it went so fast.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the
So was
same
this like 2 weeks then after from when you were sick?
Yep.
Yeah.
So basically, from the time I went in for the first CT scan because they thought I had kidney
Yeah.
stones, to the time I was hooked up to chemo
Mhm.
was about 2.5 weeks.
Wow.
And so and I did IV chemo for 6 months. So I would do chemo 3 weeks on, 1 week off. And then going through that, my white blood cell dropped super fast. So I actually was in at the chemo center 4 days a week.
Mhm.
I do chemo on Friday, and then I get a white blood cell shot on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Friday or Thursday off, and then rinse repeat 3 weeks, and then I get 1 week off. And we
Mhm.
did that for 6 months.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
then and I mean, we do scans. I still do scans every 3 months. So at first we do the very first one, we did a PET scan for a baseline. And then every 3 months we do a CT scan with contrast and non-contrast, which come with just lovely drinks you have to drink
Mhm.
every time. It's like drinking snot. It's awful.
No.
And then at the 1 year mark, I just had another PET scan in August, and then we did another PET scan. So as we did the IV chemo, like for me, I responded really, really well as far as the cancer goes. And really, I didn't feel awful. So as I was going through IV chemo, I mean, I was still doing the mom thing, the wife thing. I was head coach in Lincoln Girls Wrestling the whole time. I volunteered coach for Lincoln High School girls. And then I was also a full-time college student. Like,
Mhm.
and my oncology people are like, "Why? What are you doing?" I was like, "I know." Like, I was like, I kept going. And like, I would feel pretty good for like, I'd have chemo, and then about on Fridays, on Mondays, and I was like, I wanted it so my kids wouldn't be like, "Oh no, mom's sick." So on
Mhm.
Mondays, I'd start getting really run down. But never once during chemo did I puke. It was awesome. And they're like, I was just really, really tired. And then I'd feel better by Thursday, and then we would start over again. So we got through my 6 months ended in February. We did scans, and at that point it was still basically in just my liver and my bones. Like my liver is very disgruntled about getting rid of it. Like I
Mhm.
called my cancer my leech, and it's like it's just stuck. And so we switched from the IV chemo to I take Ibrance, which is a chemo pill, and then I also take another pill that shuts down the estrogen. We did decide to go ahead and get my ovaries removed back in March. I think it was March. I don't remember. It was right before 6 weeks before the 10-week challenge that I did.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I got them removed, which was good because we found out when they did that, the shot I was getting to get rid of the estrogen wasn't working.
Mhm.
Because when they took them out, I actually had 7 cysts. And like, oh, well, that's normal. I was like, well, that's normal for someone my age that isn't shutting off their estrogen.
Right.
And so once we did that, it's kind of like it helped decrease it. So I mentioned I just had a PET scan in August. So the cancer is still in my bones, but it's at a very small fraction of what it was. They said the largest area was in my right shoulder. Originally, it was like at a 15.6. I don't know if I think it was centimeters, like up in or millimeters up in this area, and it's down to a 2.3 is the largest area.
Mhm.
The thing about like I do bone scans every 3 months, but bone scans show scar tissue and cancer is the
Oh.
same.
Mhm.
So you don't really know in the bones until you do a PET scan and you light up like a Christmas tree basically. And so in this PET scan, I mean, they were so excited. And I actually talked to my oncologist, and she's like, now that we're at where we're at, she's like, honestly, when you were diagnosed, you probably had it for 2 months. And it spread
That's
that
it?
2 months.
Wow.
And I was like, and I told her, I was like, well, I guess that kind of makes sense because I was coaching freestyle wrestling before this all happened, and my back started hurting. I was like, oh, I just did something I
Yeah,
wasn't
just tweaked it.
supposed to,
Yeah.
and I go to the chiropractor, and it got to a point, and chiropractic care, I love it, but it should never hurt when you get adjusted. And so at one point, like, I went and she tried to adjust it, and I was just I mean, I was in tears, and I was talking to her, she's like, "Something's not right." I was like, "No." And at that point, I was like, "There's something going on." And then, I mean, my lower back basically looked like Swiss cheese because of the cancer eating through the bones. And so, I mean, it is bad. And I still like, now my back's better. There's still days my back is sore, and we don't know if it actually did nerve damage or not, but that's something we won't be able to even test until I hopefully get to a status where the cancer is, I wouldn't say the cancer isn't there. The cancer is basically asleep because I will never be rid of cancer. I will have it forever.
Is that because the stage or just because of how aggressive it was? Or because so like you will never have remission.
Right. So once you're stage
For you.
4, there is not a cure. Kind of like the horse is out of the gate kind of saying.
Mhm.
So once cancer leaves the first primary area, it goes other places. Like there could just be one cell somewhere. And the idea is like the chemo pill I'm on now is the idea is it's still decreasing, and we want to get it to a point where it's not actively spreading and not actively showing up. So
Mhm.
it's basically putting it to sleep.
Mhm.
But at some point in my life, it will wake back up again, and then we will have to try a different treatment. And I mean, there's still treatments coming out. Like there's more and
Mhm.
more coming out, but there's not enough funding that goes into research for stage 4, which to me sounds silly because if you're stage 1, the chance of you getting it again and becoming stage 4 is actually fairly high. So if you can cure stage 4, you're curing stage 1 through
Mhm.
3.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
So, and you mentioned because it was stage 4, a mastectomy wasn't an option.
right.
What is the reasoning for that?
So, once we finished IV chemo, I did bring it up because I mean, there was one research study, and to me, I was like, if there's one, then there's enough reason to do it. That said that there was like if you got a mastectomy stage 4, that it could help. And I was told by my oncologist, she's like, it's stage 4, it's already gone, it's other places. She's like, even if you do it, you still have this cancer cells in your body. And I was like, "Well, I understand that, but at the same time, I don't agree." So I actually got a second opinion at, UNMH in Omaha, and she basically said the same thing. So, my stubborn self, I actually found a surgeon in Texas, and he was willing to do it, and he was all for it, but I'd have to have the oncologist sign off on it.
Mhm.
And I was like, "Well, okay." I was like, I told my husband, I was like, "I'll drop it for now because I wanna get to a point where I'm considered," they call it, no evidence of disease or NED once you get that far. It's like, once I get that far, then I might pick it back up again because the other thing is I had genetic testing done, and it's part of when you get diagnosed, and so everything came back except for I was BRCA2 positive. The thing is with BRCA2, it's not the cancer I have. So,
Okay.
and to me, I'm like, "Okay, so I already have breast cancer, but I could get a second type."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, we're treating you for it." I was like, "Well, you're treating me for breast cancer, but," I was like, "what if this one comes in and takes over?" And I'm like, "If that happens, I'm gonna be furious because I told you to
Mhm.
get rid of them." Like,
Mhm.
and I basically, it's like I feel robbed because I don't have the option
Mhm.
to, I was like, it's like I was telling you, it's like, I feel like I have traitors on my chest. Like,
Yeah.
I'm stuck with them. And it's like, and I hate it.
Are there like risks involved with having it done that outweigh any type of a benefit that you would
I
have?
mean, they basically say, and most studies show, and there's not a lot of studies because they don't allow it. And it's like, well, if you allow more people and
Yeah.
do more studies, could it help? And they're like, well, we can't prove that it helps, but we can't prove that it doesn't help.
Yeah.
I mean, and going through a mastectomy, it's very invasive. The downfall would be I'd have to come off of all my chemo, the chemo pills
Mm.
I'm on daily.
Okay.
And so if you come off of those, and the chance of it spreading while you're off of it is higher.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so you have to take a risk with that. But at the same time, if you're gaining years because you did it, then, and
Mhm.
that's their thing. It's like, well, we don't want you to go off of your chemo pill.
Yeah.
And I was like, I understand it. It's like it's a give and take. I was like,
Yeah.
so at
That
this
makes
point,
sense.
I've let it sit on the back burner. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not giving up on it yet.
Yeah.
I was like, but and I was like, at the same time, I didn't have to come off my chemo pills to have my ovaries removed. So
Mhm.
why do I have to have the
Yeah.
mastectomy? I was like, there's
Well, and I think it's good because it sounds like you want answers and you just kind of have to keep pushing until you get them because I think sometimes that's hard. You have to really be your own cheerleader, advocate, yeah.
Oh, definitely. Well, and it's one of those. It's every oncologist has a different opinion. And so my oncologist, and I'm like I said, I'm thankful I am where I am because it's not just her. She goes to a board that has 400 other oncologists on it. So when I first started, she's like, "Oh, the pill," and then it changed because of the aggression rate. And she's like, "Well, no, we're gonna take it from one IV chemo." I did 2 IV chemos at the same time. And that's because the board weighed in, and I'm thankful. And when I went to Omaha, they also had a board weigh in, and it's like, okay. I was like, I will set it on like the back burner for now. But I'm one of those, like, I push and I advocate, and it's like if something doesn't sit right in my gut, I'm not okay with this. We're gonna continue on until I get an answer that I feel I can sleep at night with.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
we're going to
that's
take a
important.
break. When we come back, I want to talk about like how you remain positive through all this, because when you were telling me every place the cancer was, I was just like, how are you still alive right now?
Yeah.
Like, so I
Or
want to talk
just
about mentally
yeah.
dealing with that and going through that. So when we come back, we're going to get into that. So please stay with us on 93.7 The Ticket.
Sunday morning. It's quiet, not in a weird, too quiet way. Calm, peaceful, tranquil. You pour yourself that cup of coffee. You slice yourself a hearty chunk of one of Beatrice Bakery's breakfast breads. Now, maybe you're an apple streusel guy. Nothing wrong with that. I can respect that. Personally, I'm a turtle nut man. Something about those pecans. But the real ones know, don't sleep on that date nut bread. Sweet, but not too sweet. Nutty, not overly. The perfect morning treat. Beatrice Bakery. Online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. We hope you'll join us this year at the Step Forward Awards luncheon on October 27th in Omaha. Help us thank volunteers with a celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Something spooktacular is happening at Bonsall Pool and Spa. From now until October 14th, visit the Bonsall Spooktacular sale to take advantage of this great cash and carry offer. $400 off all in-stock free-flow spas. Also, customers can take 10% off spa chemical and spa cover orders. Stop by today at 3201 Pioneers Boulevard to take home your free flow spa today. Bonsall Pool and Spa, also online at bonsallpool.com.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
I'm Christy. I used to smoke cigarettes. I had smoker's cough and severe shortness of breath, and I knew I had to quit. Then I tried e-cigarettes, but I just ended up using both. I really didn't start to get better until I quit smoking completely. My tip to you is just cutting down on the number of cigarettes you smoke isn't enough.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
This is where it happens. Long hikes with friends, kayaking adventures with family, more horseback riding, zipline gliding, rock face climbing, hammock camping fun than you could ever imagine. And it's all outdoors, amongst the trees and across the prairie, here beneath Nebraska skies. Plan an outing today at yournebraskaadventure.com. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Now back to Fitness Fanatics on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Okay, we are back. We're going to keep our conversation with Beth going. I wanted to get into, it's like I told you off air, when you were telling me everything that was wrong, I was thinking, how is she still alive right now?
Fun fact about Jeff, you have a huge, I don't know what it would be called, a medical phobia or something. You probably convinced yourself that you have stage 4 breast cancer at this point. The way that your brain works.
I've always
That is how your brain works.
No,
and the couple times I've been in the hospital, you have a really hard time with that too. Like you have this
hypochondriac.
I don't
not so much. Just
no. I've always wanted to because I've known people that have passed away of aneurysms that you just didn't know you had.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, I wish I could just go into it. And I mean, you going to get your
like a PET scan or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at my entire body. Look at my neck, everything. I mean, I want to see.
There are screenings you can do.
But
for
then
that
it's
stuff.
do I really want to do that? Because what if they're like, hey,
well, then you want to know. But I'm just saying, this is important for you to listen to Beth talking about staying positive and,
Yeah, that's what we want to talk about.
Because that would be a struggle for you.
Right. Because, it's look how hard it is for us to stay positive when Nebraska's playing. These are the problems that we deal with. We lose, and it's just, I mean, the end of it.
Right.
So I really want to talk about your mindset and how,
even the high and low points.
Yes,
because it's important to talk about
how
both,
you
too.
dealt with that.
Yeah,
getting that news and
because it's okay to
the
be
last year
sad and mad and whatever, but
I'm sure you weren't always just chipper. Oh, this is great.
This is what it is. Let's do it.
Right,
yeah.
right.
No. So, I mean, like I said, when we first kind of knew, I had told my husband, and I mean that at that point, I mean there was a lot of tears that night, and it's like, God, man, okay, we're not telling the kids until we know more. I mean, I guess that's another big part of it is we have now a 14, an 11, and a 7-year-old. So they were a year younger last year when I got diagnosed, and so we went through and we found out everything, and then when we sat the kids down, I think that was probably one of the hardest things to do is tell your kids that you're sick. And so our oldest is autistic, so he understands it, but he doesn't grasp it at the same time. And then our youngest being 7, she didn't, she's like, okay, mom's sick. It didn't really click. But our middle kiddo, he's very smart, and he had heard of cancer before. And so he kind of went down this rabbit hole of, you know, you're gonna die, this isn't okay. And I mean, watching him go through those emotions, I think was probably some of the hardest as a parent. That's the hardest thing, is to break your kid's heart. And I mean, and once we knew, we had to make phone calls. I had to call my parents, and my mom is very level-headed, and I mean, and then she went into her own little deep dive of research and whatnot. And then I had asked her, because 2 of my brothers and my dad are there, and I was like, can you tell them in person for me, because I don't want them to get that news via a phone call. That's not fair. And but I mean, every phone call we made, you could just hear the heartbreak on the other end of the phone. And it just, the first week in the unknown and the kind of the waiting was probably one of my lowest points. And I was like, 'cause I don't do unknown very well. I am a planner. I like to schedule things. And then when we first went in the first round of chemo, I was so anxious. I'll never forget, my leg was bouncing so bad, and Grant's like, oh my gosh, you could just run a marathon right now. And I'm like, and it was because I was just so nervous, because I didn't know what to expect. And so once we got through the first week, it got easier. But at the same time, they told me my second week of chemo would be when my hair would fall out.
Mhm.
And as a woman, it sounds really bad. Like, it makes you sound vain, but your hair is kind of part of who you are. Like, you're not like
Mhm.
men can like shave their heads off and you don't get looked at like you're well, some might, but most don't get looked at like they're nuts.
Mhm.
And and my hair did start falling out. And like I had a moment like in the shower, your hair falls out more because your pores open more.
Mhm.
And so like the point when my hair was like coming out like crazy and like I was in tears and crying and upset, and Grant came in, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And he still laughs to this day, and I was like, "I'm gonna be a naked mole rat," like, and that's how I deal with things. I was like
Yeah.
I cracked a joke, he's like, "Oh my gosh, that's awful." I was like, "I'm gonna look like a naked mole rat. It's gonna be awful," and, like and that was my breakdown, and I still
Yeah.
had fairly amount of hair, and then, like, it was a week later, I was like I threw my hair up in a ponytail, I went and got my white blood cell shot, ran my errands, and I was like, I knew that day was the last day I'd have hair.
Mhm.
And I mean, that night when I showered, it was just handful after handful. And then, I mean, for my husband, that was probably one of the hardest nights for him because I got out of the shower. I didn't look in the mirror and I was like, you need to take care of this. And he's like, I don't think I can. I mean, and his hand was shaking so bad. And for those who don't know Grant, like, I mean, he's a fairly, like, he's a goofy guy.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Mhm.
he's like, whatever, anything you need it, he'll do it. And like that was his breaking point too. It's like once you lose your hair, it's like the cancer became real.
Yeah, because everything else is happening
Yeah.
inside. You don't have that actual
Yeah.
physical, like, evidence of something.
Oh,
Mhm.
exactly. And so at that point, I mean, like I said, that was probably mine was the week before. Like when I called myself a naked mole rat, it was like
Mhm.
that was my down point. I was like, okay, I'm done. I've had my pity party. Like I've always lived by the philosophy, if something's bugging you, give yourself 10 minutes, get it out, kick, scream, whatever you need to do, pick yourself back up, find the silver lining and move on. Because there's no sense in living in that negative point in your
Mhm.
life. Like I'd have never been a person to live in that negative. Like I can't do it. It
Right.
drives me nuts.
Makes it worse.
And so, I mean, and that night when he shaved my head and he'll laugh to you because now we talk about it a year later and we can laugh at. He's like, you do know that you look like the crypt keeper, right? I'm like, oh, thanks a lot, love it.
Yeah.
And but after we did that, the kids were already in bed, and so we pulled him out of bed because I didn't want him to wake up in the morning and come into the kitchen to see a bald mom. And so we brought him in, and that's when it became extra real to them, and that's still one of the moments that it's one of the hardest moments I've ever had.
Mhm.
And I mean, our oldest, he didn't really say anything at first, but the next morning he was like, "Hey mom, what all do I need to build a time machine?" And
Mm.
I'm like
Oh my gosh.
"Well," he's like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Well, I think I'm gonna figure it out. Do you think my Lego pieces will work? And
Mhm.
then we can build a time machine and then go
Mm.
back." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And that's how his brain
Yeah.
works. And then our middle kiddo, I mean, he broke down in tears. I mean, and he basically fell asleep crying. I mean, he was just so upset. And I told you earlier, there was at one point he wrote a letter, or he left me a letter in my because I was doing college classes. So he put it into my computer and I opened it up and there was a letter, and he's an amazing drawer. So he drew like a picture of Spider-Man or whatever. And he's like, "Mom, you're my hero. I wish that this cancer would go away. And then, I wish I could take it away from you." And as a mom, you like, no, like
Mhm.
this is mine to deal with. I never want this to happen to you.
Mhm.
But I mean, he's our sensitive soul. And I mean, and through this whole thing, he's just been he's very in tune to what's going on. And then our daughter, when she saw I had no hair, being 7 and our only girl, she's like, "Mom, your
Mhm.
hair." I mean, like the whole no hair thing, like she was so upset. And she's like, "I'm gonna forget what you look like." I'm like, "My
Aw.
face is still the same."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was convinced. She's like, "Mom, your hair is gonna grow back pink and purple." I was like, "Oh Lord, I hope not."
Yeah.
But okay. And so I mean, and that was probably I feel like that point was the low point for all of us. And so like going forward, like we kind of got into a routine, but there was one point when my white blood cell count, like I knew if it was if it's too low, you can't have chemo. I didn't know if it was too high, you couldn't have chemo.
Mhm.
Like there's this like little magical box you have to be in. And so, and like I said, I'm a planner. And so it kicked my chemo back a week. And like
Mhm.
I was completely frustrated. And like I think that was the one time I actually like broke down in tears because I was like, okay, I have it figured out. We're doing XYZ on these days and it's fine. But the day that they're like, "No, this isn't it." And I was like broke down, totally bawling because I didn't have control over it anymore. I was like, I didn't have control over getting it, but I felt like I at least had a little bit of control knowing I had a set schedule.
It
and
was written
things.
down.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
I
like,
know.
Written down.
yes. And it's like, okay. And like every week I have to do I had to do labs. I do labs monthly now, but like I would get the numbers and I researched what the numbers meant. And so they give them to me and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, because like one of my liver numbers, like the normal range, like the high of the normal range is like 150. Mine was like 3,000.
Oh my gosh.
Like it was super, super bad. And like, oh, it's not bad. I was like, y'all are nuts. That
Yeah.
is insane. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to lie to me. Like do not sugarcoat it. Like
Mhm.
if I'm dying, let me know. I want to go do something fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it helps that NHO has such like their staff is so upbeat too. But I mean, they say the same things kind of like you did. Like how are you still so positive? How are you doing all this? It's just how I am. Like
Mhm.
if I'm not happy and I'm the one sitting here like, "Oh, this is awful. Oh, this is how I'm going to go out." I was like, "Then why am I sitting here?
Mhm.
Why am I trying these treatments if I have no intent of having a good life and doing things?"
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So it's like kind of what we do. I mean, and I know like I do scans every 3 months and I can still see it. Like on our middle kiddo's face is the biggest one. Like he sees the nasty drinks in the fridge and like you can see my kids hold their breath like I do. And
Mhm.
I call it, I mean, this is a real thing, it's scan anxiety. And
Mhm.
like I pull into the AMI parking lot and I still like anxiety comes over me and it's like I don't do this. I just want to go home. I just want to crawl in bed. And like it's awful. And I mean,
Mhm.
and during like my 10-week challenge, I was doing my PET scan. And then when I was going in, and scan anxiety is bad enough when you go in and everything works like it should. Well, my PET scan, I went in and the machine broke right before I got in it.
Mhm.
They didn't have it fixed for like 2 weeks. And with a PET scan, you have to go on basically a no carb, high protein diet. And I am a carb lover. And I was
And you're
like,
working out
oh,
6
yes.
days a
Yes.
week.
And I was working out and like
Yeah.
I was I was not a happy person
Yeah.
for those 2 weeks. Like I would come into the gym and I'm just like, "Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Leave me alone." And like it was bad.
That
And
was
then
that 5-week testing too, because we
Yes.
talked about it when you did your
And
5-week testing.
it was bad. And I was like, and I wish that on no one. And
Yeah.
it's like, I'm already waiting for a PET scan, which is that at that point it was determining a lot of things because I had one of my numbers was actually higher and my oncologist is like, "Oh, it's progression. It's progression." And I'm like, "No, it's not." And she's like, "But it is." I was like, "No." I was like, "I am telling you right now, it's not." Like I get this one number is going up. I was like, "But none of my other numbers are going up. I don't feel any extra pain in my body and I'm very in tune to my body."
Mhm.
I was like, "It's not that." And she's like, "Oh yeah, it is." I was like, "Mm-mm." So the PET scan came back and it's like I had actually a lot less cancer and everything. So, and I was like, they called to give me the results. I was like, "Oh, I already got them in my email. It's okay." And I was like, "Can you
Mhm.
make sure you tell my oncologist I told you so?"
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
like, "Do I have to do that?" I was like, "Yes,
Yeah.
yes, do." And then call me back and let me know what she says. And it's like, and it's those things. It's like you have to have a positive mindset. Because if I sat there waiting for my PET scan thinking, "Oh, it's going to be worse. Oh, I'm going to go back onto IV chemo and all this," I was like, you basically dig yourself a hole and you're burying yourself up before it's your time.
Mhm.
Like, and I was like, I can't do that.
Mhm. Yeah.
So Grant did the 10-week challenge. I was trying to think of I can't remember if he did the fall challenge in October or if he did the January challenge.
No, I'm
It
pretty
was
sure
in
it was
October.
October.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Because he was driving around with the Santa Claus in his
oh, that's
truck.
right. Yes.
Yes,
Okay, I
during his
remember that.
10
Yes,
weeks.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. And so you I know throughout his time at Farrell's, you tried to do some at-home stuff and then you signed up and just did this last 10-week challenge over the summer. And I remember bringing you up front at orientation. And maybe this is the reason we had such an amazing finishing rate
Yeah.
and conversion rate, because I was just like, okay, this is Beth. She is currently fighting stage 4 cancer right now.
Yeah.
And here she is at her orientation. Now, if she can come and work out every day and finish this 10 weeks while fighting cancer, what excuse do you have?
Yeah.
Oh, my dog's sick and I just
Yeah.
I can't come to the gym. Like all these little things that we just come up with, like why we can't do something or why we can't eat right or finish something. But we did have an amazing finishing rate. And hopefully everybody that was there was like, okay, I really don't want to go to the gym, but Beth's going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's my excuse? I'm tired.
Right.
Well, you don't think she's tired?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing. And I know everybody that works out with you just loves it when you're there and sees your energy. And we've had quite a few 6 p.m.ers message the show. So they're
Yeah.
listening that
Yep.
have instructed, in the classes and stuff. So you're just an inspiration, everybody that goes to Farrell's and that knows you at the Meadow Lane location. So yeah, you're just doing an awesome job.
Yay.
What's how far before break, Harrison?
We can go to break now. Otherwise, we got about 3 minutes max.
Okay. Just want to get a quick update on where you're at now, a year later, like as far as like the cancer goes.
I mean, as far as the cancer goes, so like I said, originally it was from like the base of my head all the way through my hips and my bones, and lungs, liver, and then the left breast. And then so as of August for the PET scan, I have another scan in November, but it's completely resolved in the breast. It's completely resolved in the lungs. The liver, they don't say completely resolved because on a PET scan, it's active on there, so it's hard to see. But there was no extra spots, so we are assuming it's gone. We'll know in November. Like we're I can't say it.
Optimistically.
Yes,
That's a hard one.
So we're hoping that it's gone. We're kind of fingers crossed, but if it's not, we're like, it's a very small amount. And now it's still in my bones, but it's at like an 1/8 of what it was originally. And so because we went so aggressive at first and like I was on top of like getting my ovaries out and everything, I think that's why we are where we're at now, which I mean, the oncologist, we had a talk at my 1-year mark and she's like, I wouldn't have told you this before. She's like, but honestly, I'm surprised you're still sitting here. I was like, oh, I'm so glad. It's like, you can't get rid of me that fast.
Yeah. And so you'll have to do those tests
for the
forever.
rest of my life, every 3 months for the rest of my life.
Just to check and make sure and
Yep.
reassess. Okay.
All right. Well, we're going to go to break. We're going to wrap things up here on 93.7 The Ticket. We'll be right back.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln and across Nebraska by offering a number of services. From group homes to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people with developmental disabilities, you can check out open positions along with learning more about services at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
My early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
But it gave my mom and me more time to plan together.
Talk to your family about seeing a doctor. Go to alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends, surprise parties, camps, birthdays. The same way you plan for the important moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
At Fairway Meat Market, you're family, and as part of the family, they want to save you money on your meat and groceries. This week, they have your tailgate needs and more. Enjoy 80% lean ground beef for just $2.99 per pound, USDA Choice Tri-Tip for $8.99 per pound, and all-natural boneless, skinless chicken breast for $1.99 per pound. That's all at Fairway Meat Market in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock with A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. If you're looking for an automotive repair facility you can genuinely trust, we would be grateful for the opportunity to earn your business repairing your vehicle. We have ASE master technicians and qualified to work on a variety of vehicles from Hondas to Porsches, Jaguars to Toyotas, and Chevrolets to Fords. We pride ourselves on customer service and relationships, and we would be grateful for the opportunity to serve you. Give us a call at 402-477-4660. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
Hello, this is Mary Pat Waite. I've had the privilege of working with Lincoln families as their realtor for more than 31 years. And I'm so proud to be associated with MP Dodge Real Estate. For me, your transaction is unique in its own way. My experience allows me to bring you trusted care and a really great outcome. My NP Dodge family shares the same client focus.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor.
Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Now back to Fitness Fanatics on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Okay, welcome back in. Final segment here with Beth. We've been talking some serious stuff over the last hour. Serious, but stuff that listeners need to hear about, know about, learn about. We have a text that Harrison's going to read here, and then we'll wrap it up.
And it kind of lines up exactly what you're saying. These stories, when you kind of do hear it from Beth and kind of how real these things can just happen out of nowhere sometimes. From Crowbait, I love this, letting her tell her story. It really hits home, and a lot of people don't understand how serious and scary it can be. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for listening.
Thanks. That was kind of what I wanted to talk about in our last segment, because Beth's not a huge Husker fan, so we're not going to talk about Huskers. We talked about sports our entire first segment. So what was something that helped you throughout this, like the support that you received from other people? And we talked about this off camera or at break about how I'm sure everyone's a little bit different on what support, but you know, it can be hard sometimes. You don't know what to say to somebody. So like, what was it for you, the support that you received? What would your advice be to somebody that has a loved one going through something similar? And what was that stuff that you kind of appreciated during that?
Well, I think we were talking off air a little bit, but I know when we first got diagnosed, the outpouring from all the people, like I told you, like I was in tears more often because I didn't realize how many lives I had touched going up into this. Because we're always the people that, like, you know, we'll help people. We don't say anything. We try to do the right thing. So when we had people reaching out, I mean, we had an outpouring. They were like, you know, how can we help? And so we had some people. We did like a meal train when we first started. So they would send food, or they would send gift cards. So, you know, the kids could do stuff. Like we had a couple of people, like they gave us like to Urban Air. The kids were able to go to Urban Air, or we could order pizza in and still watch movies. That's something I could do. And, you know, they set up fundraisers because medicals, even with good insurance, the medical bills, we're still drowning in medical bills a year and a half later. Like it's insane. And those bills will continue the rest of my life, you know. But as far as what to tell someone or say to someone who has cancer, like the best thing you can do is not disappear. And, you know, and like saying like, hey, do you need this is not necessarily the way to do it. You can say, hey, I'm going to go to the store and get stuff. Would you like would you like me to pick something up, or would you like me just to decide and drop it off for you?
Mhm.
Or, you know, I'm getting lunch, I'm going to drop it off for you. Don't make it a question, because the people going through stuff, and it goes to like even with people who've dealt with deaths and stuff,
Mhm.
they're just in such a weird state trying to figure things out. Asking another question, they just can't comprehend it at the time. So it's like, you know, I am going to bring you this. I am going to come do your laundry. I am going to come pick your kids up and go take them somewhere so they forget what's going on.
Mhm.
I think that was the biggest help, is people that are just like, we are going to help. And either you like, we don't need you to tell us how you want us to help. I mean, we did a t-shirt fundraiser, and my friend was like, I'm gonna do this. Give me your design and then we will get it going. And I mean, and she did everything. She designed the shirt and whatnot. And like, we're doing another fundraiser where we're actually making our own shirts and doing that, because like I said, our medical bills are never gonna go away, and we're just trying to get our head above water. And I mean, I think that's the biggest thing as far as cancer patients go, is the financial aspect of it on top of the physical and mental aspect. Like, no matter which way you turn, you feel like you're drowning.
Mhm.
And like, that's something you just, like I said, it's hard. And I guess other people, like, if other people want to help, and I'm like, it's hard, because it's very humbling experience to learn how to accept help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I'm sure, you know, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to organize a big event or organize, it's those little things I think that probably you have seen that they all add up. And it's just knowing people are thinking of you and they want to lighten the load in any way that they can. Sometimes people are afraid to talk about it because it's scary. It's scary to everybody. If you talk about it, it becomes real to you too. So I think that was important, kind of just to tell people, like, you had the gamut of people doing, you know, big things and doing small things.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, and I guess I say it a lot in like day-to-day conversations too. It's like, you know, I may be stage 4. I'm going to have it forever, but I don't have an expiration date.
Mhm.
So, and I think
Or you do,
there's
just like the rest of us.
right.
We all do.
It may
you
be
know?
more, it's like more in your face, you
Yeah.
know, like
I know.
you're constantly thinking about it, but it's like, you know, just because I look better doesn't mean
Yeah.
I'm done. Like, I still go to the oncology office twice a month.
Mhm.
I have to go in 1 week to get 2 shots, and I go in the following week for labs and seeing an oncologist. So that's something I have to do forever. And it's like,
Mhm.
you know, no, I don't expect people to still be showing up and giving me stuff, but it's nice when people, like, you know, check in, like, hey, how are you? Or, you know, they ask specific things. And I think, I mean, from my perspective, it's nice to know that they're not just like, oh, we're done with you.
This was a thing that
Yeah,
happened
it
and life
happened and we're
goes on.
done.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like, this is a forever thing for us. And like, even now, like, I'm thankful because we have such a great support system that the majority of people we know, like, there's still a few that have totally ghosted us, which is fine. And to me, if that's, they were just in our life for that period of time, and
Yeah.
now they're not, and that's fine. They
Mhm.
they move on. There's people who come into your life for a reason, whether it be a lifelong reason or a short period of time. And, you know, we're extremely thankful for all the people that have been in our corner. I mean, from ferals to wrestling to just people we've met, military, railroad, like, it's been really great.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap things up here.
Yeah.
We appreciate everybody listening, the text, the comments, the feedback. Thank you, Beth, for taking time out of your day to come in and join and share your story. Hopefully it touched a lot of you out there. So you guys have a great week, and we'll see you back here next Sunday.